Hi, it's Angie with News OK, and I am here with Becky Varner, who is our Recipe for Health food columnist for the Oklahoman. We are finishing up the food pyramid, the food guide pyramid that we've been going through, or my pyramid. I think there's all kinds of different names for this. But the last thing on the list is oils. And, you know, oils is kind of a tough one. Every time I look at the food guide pyramid, I'm like, oils, how exactly, you know, how do I get that into my diet? But, you know, obviously a lot of people are getting fatty foods in their diets. And can oils have an impact on that?
Well, yes. The thing is, a lot of people get way too much fat in the diet. And a lot of times the fat that they're eating is not the healthiest kind of fat. They're getting more saturated fats from the either fat that's been added, fats that are saturated or hard at room temperature, or the processing of foods will have more saturated fat in them. And we want to take a focus on reducing the amount of fat in the diet if we're getting too much. And I want to say right there, Angie, that less fat does not mean no fat. You know, sometimes people will think, well, if less is better, I just won't use any. Well, you need some fat. Fat has an important role in the diet for absorbing fat-soluble vitamins, and it has very specific functions as well. So, we're looking at some of the more healthful oils today, the vegetable oils.
Okay.
And oils are going to be liquid at room temperature versus hard at room temperature, like more saturated fats would be. And a couple that I'm showing, we've got an olive oil today that we're going to be working with some here in just a minute. Canola oil is an excellent vegetable oil. Sunflower oil, safflower oil, corn oil, those are all excellent oils to use that are partly monounsaturated and partly polyunsaturated oils. But they're primarily the more healthful oils to use.
And you being a registered dietitian, you know about all the, you know, it's tough in you know, layman's terms and in just, you know, someone who I'm not huge into all of that to really figure out. So you have some good tips then.
Well, and we want to simplify it for people to make it easy. And I will mention that there are a couple of the vegetable fats, coconut oil and palm oil, that are more saturated. But in general, these that I mentioned would all be good ones. And then there are some other ones that are sometimes used just for seasoning and flavoring. Peanut oil is great to use when you're stir-frying vegetables, maybe some oriental vegetables, something like that. And then sesame oil has a wonderful, rich flavor. A little bit, and I mean a half of a teaspoon of sesame oil added to maybe a hot and sour soup.
There you go.
Or when I roast asparagus, I love to roast asparagus in the summertime, I'll put just a little bit of sesame oil on it. And so these are oils that are used more for seasoning and flavoring.
Okay. So we're going to actually show you then, right? You're going to show us how to make one of these dressings for a salad.
We are going to prepare an olive oil based salad dressing, very simple to prepare, and this only has 5 ingredients. And we're going to start out with the balsamic vinegar, and I'll put this in here, and a little bit of water, and honey, and we'll have all of the ingredients and the exact amounts that we're using in our recipe, of course, but I want to mention this is a recipe that is very easy to alter the amounts. If you want something a little sweeter, you would use a little more honey or a little less honey, or if you want it less sweet, or if you wanted it to be a little tartar, you could use a little bit more of the balsamic vinegar.
So there's some flexibility.
A lot of flexibility with this. We have 2 tablespoons of our olive oil in this recipe, and then we have Dijon mustard. And I've got my spoon is sticking to the honey, made it sticky. Let's switch this here. And I've got a little Dijon mustard.
We're going to mix it all up.
Mix this all up. That's all that we're doing for this recipe. And it's really ideal if you can have a container with a lid, you could shake it. That works well too.
There you go.
And
now, are you going to want to refrigerate this before you?
We don't need to. We can just serve it exactly like this. But you want to just be sure that you have all that mustard mixed up real well in there. And then, Angie, we have a salad already prepared. This is just a simple green salad, which I might add is a great way to get the vegetables.
There we go.
There are several kinds of lettuces and endive, and then some tomato slices. And I'm just going to spoon a little bit of our
drizzle it,
doesn't take very much.
Because obviously that's where it can get you. You know, the dressing can add a lot of fat to what was supposed to be a healthy salad.
That's right. That's right. And I would say that because sometimes people wonder about amounts. Of course, various calorie levels would have various amounts of oil. But according to my pyramid, a 2,000 calorie level diet would be about 6 teaspoons of oil a day. But what folks need to remember is that that's not just fat that they add to food, like in the form of salad dressing. That includes fat that would be used in food preparation, and that includes other ingredients that have a lot of fat. For example, olives. Olive oil comes from olives, and so that would be a fat in the diet. Nuts have fat in them. Avocado has fat in it. So there are other ways that they're getting fat. It doesn't necessarily mean adding 6 teaspoons to your food, you know, in a 2,000 calorie level diet. But folks can go to my pyramid and look at that and see at specific calorie levels what the allotment would be.
That's great. Oh, this looks wonderful. And obviously it's important to get into our diets the oils, but the healthy oils.
That's right.
The correct ones.
That's
so
right.
check out the Oklahoman in the Life section for Becky Varner's Recipe for Health food column. And obviously she'll have, just tips and ideas on this, right?
A lot of tips in this column.
Perfect. Sounds great. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Angie.